Jacques, you kept your promise of giving everybody a run.
Yeah, I think the team that played on Saturday made it possible. Like I said, we had a plan with all 42 players who was in the squad, and we told them about the plan from day one, so everybody knew this was the plan. But obviously, you don't know if it will be doable and if you can execute it. So yes, obviously the win on Saturday gave us the opportunity.
In a way, it's a large part of it is a form team from UFC, and those guys getting rewarded.
Yeah, I think if you look at the guys who's probably deemed new, and there's some old new guys like a Marcel and like a Andre who's been part of us before, but it's and Warwick, they've been part of us before, but they're getting back into the mix now, or starting again a test match. So I think there's a little bit of a blend of them who's not completely new, and then there's the debutants. So I think we try to get a blend between guys who's experienced and has been there before and has played for us last year a lot, guys that has been part of the squad in previous years, before, in 2019 with the World Cup, and then also the new guys. So we try and balance it like that. Yeah, but the guys who hasn't been part of us last year were obviously guys that were in form in various competitions.
There's always a debate about Springbok teams anyway when they pick the such, but a lot of people would say this is quite a radical move. Just your reaction?
I would say, like I said, we wanted to tick a couple of boxes. I don't think it's unique, and it's only us in terms of, if you look at the team, and people will say, listen, but is this, why did you make so many changes? I think it's common. If you look at France now, it's not a B-side playing in Japan, there is some experience there. There is some players who's been left behind. I think if you look what Wales did in the last game against Italy, there was there was 6 or 7 or 8 changes in that game alone. It's not like they didn't disrespect Italy at all, but obviously they were where they were. They could only end third. I think if they beat Italy, there was opportunity for them to end third in the Six Nations, but there's also opportunity to give some guys a go, and some of them are now playing against us, So obviously that gave some answers to their coaching staff. So it's not a unique situation, but like I say, we had this plan. The players knew about it. So and the victory on Saturday gave us the opportunity.
Jacques, would you take offense, just keep your eye to the cameras, would you take offense though if we as, first of all, Young as a journalist, with utmost respect to all the uncapped players, refer to this team as a beating though?
I don't think I would take offense, but I think Eben will take offense, and I think Andre will take offense, and I think so would other players take offense. Remember, when we select a team, I always say, listen, we want to keep momentum. Our main thing is to win. That is our biggest strategic objective, is to win. So we pick a side. Because we think they can beat Wales, and it will be a nice test. You can maybe say, listen, why don't you wrap up the series and then give them a go in the last test? But you want to see how these players perform under pressure, and because if we're going to take them to a World Cup, if you're going to play them against New Zealand, they must perform under pressure. When you wrap up a series, sometimes there's no pressure, and you can go in the game, and just like it doesn't matter if you win or lose, because the series is wrapped up. Where these players are playing, it will be a final for them, as it would be a final for Wales. Wales didn't come here to compete. They came here to win a series, and they are now playing for survival, and that's going to be our challenge, to face a fiercely Wales team that's playing for survival. And you want to see if these players will be able to perform our players will be able to perform under that pressure, and we selected them because we think they can.
Jacques, just you guys did something similar in 2018, 2019 with games against Australia. You played 2 separate squads, and one team went ahead, etc. And you've got now the 3 extra games at the end of the year that you guys, Bristol's one of them that you finalised. Would that be sort of the outlook going further, that you maybe look at a 2-squad system and interchange the guys, that by the time you get to the World Cup, you've hopefully got 40, 45 players that you can put in at any time?
I would say we'll probably, I think, yes, we've got a plan set out for the year, but we'll probably reassess after this Wales series, and then we will make. But yes, obviously, I think if you look at the end of year tour, there is a lack of opportunity. There's 4 test matches, and then there's 3 SAA games. So there's 7 games for us, and it gives us a nice opportunity to do that.
Jacques, that loose trio you've selected must excite you. You've got Peter Steff back after a long time, Marcel's back after a long time, and a guy making his debut. And what do you expect from that combination? Exciting. I think the thing that I would expect from them is, I think Peter Steff, if you look at that combination, like you rightly say, it's almost Peter Steff is the senior part, I would say, there in terms of experience, and let's call it the recent experience. He's been with the side last year in British and Irish Lions, and obviously for a long time. I think Marcel is almost an experienced guy. I think 30 test caps, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's around about there, 30 test caps, so he knows what international rugby is about, but he hasn't been in our environment since 2019. And then obviously Evan, who's been on form and been playing well for his franchise in the URC. So I think Peter Steff will probably calm the nerves. Marcel knows what it's about at international level, and them feeding experience into Evan. And then Deon to come on to add something extra.
Yeah, Deon to come on to add something extra. Yeah, so quite looking forward to that. If it pans out like that, we've been operating a long way. We had a laugh today. I think the last time I called him Deon was in 2007, and then it's been Brannas. So so no, very excited.
Jacques, picking Deon, does it send a message saying that you're picking guys on form as opposed to age and experience? And Deon, did you ever think this day is going to come in your rugby career?
I'll start. To be honest, I think 7 years ago when I went overseas, I think I put that on the back burner because playing overseas at that stage, you weren't eligible to be picked in the box squad. And then, this just came back, and first URC game I broke my cheekbone, so everything didn't start well when I came back, and luckily everything picked up from there, and
Yes, I think we always say we probably watch about, let's say, follow closely, and when I say closely, I say every tackle, every pass in detail, do a proper performance analysis on players. I would probably say between 60 and 70, and then there's a broader group that we look at, which probably on the fringe of that in-depth group that we look at, probably about 100 over a weekend. And then obviously, if guys, we always use the term that if a guy kicks the door down, we will reward form. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But in saying that, you also have to look at the squad and the balance within the squad, in terms of youth, experience, guys that you've worked with before, guys that have performed for you before in big games. We don't just throw players away that have done it for us before, because we know form is temporary, but class is forever, So classy players always come through in big games. So we won't throw away guys who's done it for us before, and then, but in the same breath, if a guy really kicks the door down, we will not just bank on the older guys or the guys who've done it for us before. We try and strike a balance there.
Jacques, he's such an inspirational figure and so important to your cause as well. That people are obviously always going to ask, or at least have interest when Sia isn't playing. But just the luxury of being able to give him a rest must be great, firstly, and letting him, sometimes actually be on the other side of the fence, prepare the guys this week that are starting, instead of being the guy who's actually need to be prepared. And just also, what type of qualities as a leader does Andre, bring, just almost in contrast, to a Sia perhaps?
I think the two of them work very well, closely together, and they complement each other, and not just a forward versus a back. I think Sia brings the calmness, the leadership, that style. I would say Andre probably brings a lot of detail. Not that Sia doesn't bring detail; he's a very detailed guy, but Andre is very much detail orientated and will make sure he knows almost everybody's role on the field. So I think they complement each other
other well, and I think Andre will also know that he would have to bring a little bit of what Sia brings to the party. He'll have to bring as a leader. And sorry, other one, Sia in general. Look, like I say, we discussed our plan with the players from the start, so they knew exactly. Listen, this is our plan. So I don't think it's purely, like I said last week. We've got certain boxes to tick in this 3 test matches, and we've got a certain idea that we want to end within these 3 test matches without compromising performance. So that's the big challenge for us. So everybody knew, and it's nice to. I won't say it's nice, but it's something that we're not giving him a rest. We have a plan that we're trying to execute.
Deon, can I ask you? Sorry, before you answer, Deon, can I ask you to speak towards the mic, please? Deon, and look towards my colleagues. Deon, you mentioned in the meet and greet, you gave us a very powerful emotional answer that some players' dreams come true at the age of 22. Your dream had to come true at this age, and now finally you get an opportunity to run into the field. Then hopefully this coming Saturday. What does this mean for you and your family, though? So after all these years.
No, I think they're excited. I think my mom is especially a bit emotional and stuff. So they will be here this weekend, and it will be nice to share that with them and my wife and my 2 kids who's coming up this weekend as well. So it's special. I think the thing is to how you're going to handle those emotions through the game and just focus on the game.
Deon, how do you keep yourself, after all these years of grafting, doing the hard work, how do you keep yourself motivated, still believing that you could possibly one day run out for your country?
I don't think it's motivation. It's just what I can add to a team, what I add to the Stormers, and the same I want to add to the box now. So I think it's motivational. I think it's more what value I can still bring to a team where I play for.
Jacques, just Wales have made it quite clear they're not going to back away from their confrontational approach and trying to get under your skin. You're going to have a lot of nervous energy out there, 6 debutants. Have you got a message for those guys, just in terms of that?
No, I think we from the start, even last week we said, I think we tried to from the start when we started with our preparation camps, everybody or a lot of people expected Wales to be a rollover, based on their performance in the Six Nations. But like I said last week, the only thing we can do is look at the reality. And if you look at now their last 5 test matches that they've lost, yes, they lost them, but there was a score in all of those test matches, and that's between South Africa, France, England at Twickenham. It's big games, big teams that they've played, and it could have gone either way. So we were from the onset, we thought it was going to be a tight game and a tight series, and Wales are one team that physically can bring it, and there's a couple of them in the world, but Wales are one of them, and that's going to be the challenge for our debutants, and they know it. But we think we believe they're good enough to handle that.
Jacques, I want to give another opportunity to ask this question. Can I ask you, obviously the end of year tour was also announced this morning. How excited are you, especially keeping in mind you are giving some of the uncapped players an opportunity this time? Is it the thinking going ahead to that end of year tour, or are you solely focused on what's coming this weekend at the moment?
No, we obviously just focused on what's happening this weekend. I mean, I think we must always, as a group, don't look too far ahead, and then you stumble over the obstacles right in front of you. So, but in saying that was our thought process when we chose a 42-man squad. It wasn't announced then, and the SAA games of the end of year tour was still in the process of getting penciled in. But we hope that those things will come through, and all those games will be finalized. And that was the thought. That's why we selected 42 players, because we knew we get an opportunity to work with them now, and hopefully, if everything goes well and they play well and perform well, and we can take them on the end of year tour.
Now, coming back to your hometown, you're proud as your first test coming back to your hometown you grew up. Bloem. I've been in Bloem for quite some time, a big part of my life.
and it's nice being back. Bloem's always been nice to us. I think it's our first test that we play here since 2018 when we played England here in the second test match. So yeah, they don't. How can I say? When we coached here, Bloem was always the graveyard for some big teams. So yeah, it's a special place to come and play, and it's a tough place to come and play, and it's always nice for me to come back.
Why are you feeling proud at your first test as head coach?
Yeah, yes, any test, you're proud to represent your country as the head coach, and yeah, but proud to have an opportunity to represent your country as head coach in Bloemfontein. Yes.
So can I ask you, usually in the build-up to 2019 World Cup, or in fact in a lot of World Cups events, you guys usually prefer Bloemfontein as your preparation grounds. You mentioned this is a graveyard for many teams. Are you hoping to bury Wales in the second test this weekend? And can you, just your opinion, why has the Wits decided not to come to Bloemfontein earlier in the week and rather arrive here on Thursday perhaps? Just your thinking around it.
No, firstly, I'm not sure. We do the same sometimes, where we feel we've got a nice environment. Joburg is the altitude. They're staying at Monte Casino, so obviously they settled, they're comfortable there. They probably stay there with the URC team, so it's quite familiar with them. So I don't know. I'm just thinking what might be the reason. But I think it's probably that. And yes, I think if you look at our preparation, we always like to try and prepare at altitude. Obviously, we think from a physical point of view, it gives us a little bit of a benefit, even if we play not in South Africa. And then Bloemfontein and Pretoria is always a nice place for us to base. I think we've based a couple of times in Bloemfontein, and then obviously a couple of times in Pretoria. It just logistically makes sense for us.
Jacques, on Bloemfontein, is Kobus Ranach in the squad training, doing his rehab, or is he in the bigger picture for the series?
No, Kobus is not in the squad, not in the official squad of 42. He is just from an administrative point of view. For you to get drafted into a national squad, you have to pass an exit medical, which is signed off by the club. And his club is Montpellier, and obviously he's injured, so there's no way he will pass an exit medical. So that's why he's not included within the squad. So he's busy with his rehab. His club has given him permission. He obviously asked him if he can do his rehab with the Springboks, and we've done the same with Andre before when he did his cruciate ligament. We handled his rehab over here, so there's a good relationship between our medical team and Montpellier's medical team. But once his rehab is finished, he'll have to go back to the club and get exit medical done by the club before we can then do an entry medical within the Springbok environment, and then we can include him in the squad once he's passed that.
And Jacques, what are some of the basic things you'd like this team to do better than last week's team did?
Yeah, just listen. In our review, we obviously picked up on a couple of things that we can do better. I think we have to improve our execution of things. I thought there was a good grind and fight of the players to come back from an 18-3 loss. I think from a physical point of view, it must give us, or must give a player a lot of confidence, to come back at altitude with that big buffer that you have to erase. So I think we conditioned, and I believe we conditioned well. But obviously we had a poor start in terms of our execution. Just improve in terms of our execution in terms of that. Yeah.
Jacques, baie van die Springbokke se ondersteuners, baie van die Springbokke se kritici gaan reken. Jacques, Nienaber vat hierdie naweek 'n groot kans met die nuwe span wat hy in die veld opstuur. Wat is jou opinie rondom hierdie span en wat is jou denkwyse agter die span gewees?
Ja, my denkwyse agter ons het altyd van die begin af gesê, luister, ons het 'n plan met al 42 spelers en daai plan het ons gedeel met die spelers van die begin af. So almal het geweet wat is ons groot plan, maar uit die aard van die saak, jy kan slegs die plan uitvoer as daar momentum is in die span, en momentum kom maar deur 'n wen, en dit het, omdat ons deur die wen wat ons gehad het Saterdag, sit dit ons in 'n posisie om ons plan uit te voer, en dis wat ons nou besig is om te doen.
Kan die span Wallis klop gemeet en wat verlede naweek gebeur het, en net so kortliks jou denkwyse agter Andre Pollard as 'n leier?
Ja, ons sal nooit 'n span kies wat ons dink gaan verloor nie. Ek dink nie, ek het dit al verskeie kere gesê, ek dink nie die Springbok span is 'n plan, is 'n platform waar ontwikkeling moet plaasvind nie. Dit gaan altyd oor jy moet perform en ons sal nooit 'n span kies wat ons dink nie kan perform nie. Ons dink hierdie span kan perform. Dit gaan taai wees want ek dink Wallis het nie Suid-Afrika toe gekom net om deel te neem nie. Hulle het gekom om 'n series te wen en hulle is reg teen die muur. Hulle weet as hulle hierdie wedstryd verloor, dan verloor hulle die series, so hulle sal kom met alles wat hulle het om hierdie series 1-1 te maak en dit dan deur te vat na Kaapstad toe. So ja, dit is die druk waaronder hierdie span gaan wees hierdie naweek. Die ander span laas naweek wou 'n goeie begin gehad het deur die eerste toets in die sakkie te kry. Hulle boksie getik. Hierdie span se uitdaging gaan wees om teen Wallis te speel wat gaan speel vir hulle lewe.
Andreas Louw.
Ek moet sê jy
Sorry, Andre is 'n leier. Yes, Andre is nog tussen Andre as gewoonweg is Sia altyd ons kaptein en Andre is ons vice captain. So ek dink dit is 'n normale rol vir hom. Dis nie iets wat ongewoon is vir hom nie. So dis net 'n natuurlike keuse gewees.
Ek moet sê jy het laas maand nou gesê daar so van die ouens wat nou hierdie naweek nou in die match nou gaan wees, dat hulle gaan eerder in die SAA wees en jy het ook nou genoem oor die ontwikkeling, also wat dit nie is nie. Ek bedoel dit lyk of as jy jou mind daarsom verander het, en wat het daarsom gemaak dat jy al gevoel het om hulle nou in te sit in Jacques?
Nee, ek dink nie, ons mind het nie verander nie. Dit is nog steeds nie 'n platform vir ontwikkeling, die Bokke nie. Die Bokke is 'n platform vir om te wen en ons glo hierdie span wat ons gekies het kan Wallis wen. En yes, daar kan net 23 spelers speel in 'n toets. So aan die einde van die jaar toer waar daar SA span wedstryde is, daar gaan net 23 speel in 'n toets en die ander, kom ons sê, weet nie hoe groot die squad gaan wees nie, maar die ander 23 gaan in 'n SA span wedstryd moet speel. En dis maar net die realiteit daarvan.
Ek moet sê en also met eerbied nou gesê, also voel jy nie Wallis gaan also voel laat ons julle nie eerbied het om ons nie julle beste ouens
Nee, ek dink nie, Wallis sal speel vir hulle lewe en ons sal speel vir ons lewe. Ek dink dis nie 'n abnormale situasie as ek dit so kan noem nie. Ek dink as jy kyk wat Frankryk nou doen, Frankryk disrespek nie Japan deur Debutante nie saam te vat op toer nie. Hulle het ook 'n plan. En niemand weet wat intern aangaan in 'n span nie. Daar's privileged information wat nie noodwendig altyd gedeel word met almal nie. En so nee, dis 'n normale tendens van baie spanne is om partykeer is dit gevolg van persoonlike redes, partykeer is dit gevolg van beserings, partykeer is dit omdat 'n ou siek is, partykeer is dit omdat jy wil hê 'n speler moet rus want jy het 'n langtermynplan met hom, partykeer is dit om te kyk of 'n speler in 'n druksituasie kan perform. So daar's baie redes hoekom 'n ou partykeer ouens kan ek sê roteer. Ja, ek dink nog steeds nie dis 'n platform vir ontwikkeling nie en dis definitief nie ontwikkeling Saterdag nie.
Branders drome word tog waar, het op jou ouderdom meneer, jy het 'n besonder goeie jaar gehad meneer. Gee ons 'n bietjie van jou emosies nou dat jy uiteindelik die geleentheid kry om Saterdag hier in Bloemfontein op die Toyota stadion op te tref moontlik meneer.
Ja, ek dink is opgewondenheid en 'n groot eer. Ek dink soos ek sê, dis elke rugby spelertjie van ouderdom van 4 wat tot die op rugby speel se droom om eendag die Springbok klere te dra. So ek dink ek is gelukkig om hier te sit na so lank tyd en ek sal net vir die span wil gee wat ek kan.
Want baie mense die jou ouderdom sal nou al handdoeke gegooi het, moet opgegee het meneer, maar jy het aangehou meneer. Maar na party oefeninge voel ek ook, ek moes al die handdoeke al ingegooi het. Maar nee, ek dink die energie in die span en goeters hou jy op die toon en ek dink as jy jou droom, ja, jy kan nooit van jou droom afwyk en net aanhou hoop en aanhou glo in dit.
Deon, vertel ons van Branders en die deelname en Saterdag is die opdrag as jy nou dubbel te bring. Ja, soos Jacques gesê, van 2007 af eintlik nog hier in op Bloemfontein lughawe ook nog. So lang storie, ons sal dit maar los. Is iets in die boeke. So ja, nee, dis lekker om hier in Bloem te wees. Ek dink dit was nog altyd
spesiale plek in vir die WP gespeel het en altyd is alles 'n spesiale plek vir enigiemand dan.
Jy bloei altyd vir die Stormers, meneer. Jy's nou op internasionale vlak. Is die kans dat jy nog erger gaan bloei van hier na vorentoe?
Ek hoop so. Ek sal ja, nee, ek dink ek sal 'n bietjie meer wil bloei vir die Springbokke.
Deon, moet sê van net toe jy gehoor het jy naam, dit is net na die balveinstryd toe die span aangekondig het. Het jy gevoelens wat jy vertel eerstens en toe jy nou hoor hierdie week?
Ja, yes, ek was eintlik met die halfwydstryd het ek my lip oop en ek was in die steke en ek het na die game was ek omtrent 20 minute daar en toe het John Dobson in die kleedkamer gesê geluk aan almal en toe was ek hier daar net. Toe ek in die kleedkamer kom te sê almal het my geluk. En toe ek was eintlik bietjie half soos kan ek sê in Engels soos 'n deer in headlights. Ek nie lekker geweet wat aangaan nie, maar ja, ek dink dit was 'n lekker gevoel en was 'n lekker gevoel met my familie en vriende te deel, ja.
Deon, watter posisie gaan jy speel? Gaan jy hakker speel? Gaan jy flank speel? Gaan jy heel agter speel? Vleuel?
Kyk wie sit langs my, miskien is dit 'n keer vir
Enige van daai.
Ja, enige van daai is.
Ja. Maar ernstig nou, Deon, ons ken jou in die verlede waar jy jou loopbaan so van op 'n beroepsloopbaan begin het of nie begin het, maar grootliks hakker gespeel het. Jy skuif toe na die as losvoorspeler.
Ja.
Is dit nou jou finale posisie waar jy gaan speel?
Ja, ek oefen nog al twee. Jy weet nooit wat kan gebeur in 'n opwarming of vir jou voorbeeld kan gee. Ek het oorsee as 'n haker 'n geel kaart kry, dan kan jy nie haker opbring met 'n lyn staan nie. So dan moet iemand die bal ingooi en gelukkig dan is ek ook daar. So sulke scenario's kan afspeel. So ek oefen nog al twee want jy weet nooit wat kan gebeur op enige stadium van 'n dag of 'n wedstryd nie.
Jacques, net gegee dat dit ook jou portefeulje is. Ek dink daar is konsensus weet dat die taktiese skopwerk beter ge-execute kan word, jy weet hierdie naweek en ding, maar ek net gewonder, daar's 'n paar waarnemers wat redeneer dat die reels op die oomblik, jy weet, reward attacking, weet, span meer en dinge. So ek wil maar net van jou perspektief uit geweet vind jy dat jy hierdie seisoen, jy weet, 'n paar challenging tweaks aan die kicking game moes gemaak het, net bloot omdat daar sekere subtiele reëlveranderings is, jy weet, in terme van, jy weet, reward vir 'n span wat 'n bietjie meer hardloop, jy weet, en daai tipe dinge, maar ek meen, julle het al voorheen gewys hoe 'n steunpilaar daai afwisseling van julle is, die kicking en, jy weet, soos wat julle in die tweede helfte gewys het, om 'n bietjie te hardloop, maar vind jy dat daar 'n challenge is, jy weet, net in terme van tweaks met die kicking game, met die reëls dalk hierdie jaar?
Yes, ek dink ja, ons probeer en dit gaan 'n klise antwoord wees, maar ons probeer altyd maar 'n balans kry. So afhangende van wat daar is, as ons en ons het probeer om druk op Wallis toe te pas met ons met ons kicking game. En dit het nie gewerk nie vir watter rede. Partykeer is dit omdat hulle dit goed stop, partykeer is dit omdat ons dit nie goed execute nie, vir wat die rede ook al is. En dan moet jy, as dit nie werk nie, dan moet jy op 'n ander manier probeer druk op hulle toepas. En ek moet sê daar het ek nogal baie respek vir die span. Hulle het kalm gebly. Ons dit het nie gewerk in die eerste helfte nie en ons moes met na ons aanval toe gaan om te kyk of ons druk op Wallis kan plaas met ons aanval. So miskien hierdie naweek gebeur dit goed anders, jy weet, ou weet nie, daar miskien ons sal altyd probeer om 'n balans te hê en probeer die groot ding is ons wil druk toepas. En as dit is met 'n hardloop game, dan is dit 'n hardloop game, as dit is met 'n kicking game, is dit 'n kicking game, as dit is met 'n defensive game, is dit 'n defensive game. So ons probeer altyd daai balans handhaaf want jy weet nooit hoe die toets gaan uitspeel nie.
Jacques, sterkte vanavond en Deon.
Dankie.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks.
Dankie.
No, guys, thanks. You even finished 13 minutes.
Yes, see.
Jacques, I will introduce myself. I'm Mike Green of Mike.
How are you, Mike?
Yes. Finally.
Yeah, finally see each other face to face from Durban.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How's things?
Yeah,
You good?
no, good, man. Yeah,
Nice,
good to
yes.
be traveling again. We didn't for a while, so
Yeah, now listen, this is awesome.
yeah, good to be back.